Thank you all. Yes, yes. Thank you all for coming to the house hunting hangout. Today's topic is taxes. Let's talk about property taxes. If you are a homeowner or a person intending to own a home, this segment is for you. Before we get started, we want to talk to our sponsors because without our sponsors, we aren't able to host events like this. All right, guys, so we're going to get this started today. I'm going to introduce our speaker and then we're going to sit down and chat about these property taxes. Precious Bowers serves as a support services manager at the Tarrant Appraisal District located in Fort Worth, Texas. With more than 20 years at TAD, she manages the operations related to customer service, exemptions, imaging, and ownership records for more than 40 employees, providing prompt and accurate assistance to property owners. Specializing in developmental training and operating procedures, Precious utilizes that experience along with her state designation as a licensed registered professional appraiser to cultivate an informed, effective workforce. With a focus on creating a knowledgeable and friendly atmosphere, Precious has been able to put her BBA degree, majoring in organizational behavior and business policy, a fancy way to say business management, with a minor in sociology from Southern Methodist University to good use. Over the years, her strengths at the Tarrant Appraisal District has garnered her some industry recognition in complex property appraisal and economic development incentives offered by area taxing units. When she is not at the Tarrant Appraisal District, Precious is an active member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and loves spending time creating games and hosting theme parties with her families. So without further ado, Precious Bowers. Give it up for Precious.
Oh, you guys.
So Precious, thank you for coming directly from the Tarrant Appraisal District to do this class today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So we're going to get right into it for this first segment. What is the Tarrant Appraisal District?
Okay, so simply put, the Tarrant Appraisal District is a political subdivision of the state. We are one of the, I believe, 254 appraisal districts in the state of Texas. Each county has an appraisal district, and so our boundaries for the Tarrant is Tarrant County. And so our job is to basically provide an equal and uniform way of assessing market value to the property. We come up with the property appraisals. Prior to the Pivotal Bill, which was established back in 1970s, late 70s, but the district was founded in the 1980s. Prior to that, you might have gotten a property tax bill from your school district, and then a different one for your city, and then a different one from your water department or your the regional water district. You might get different values for the same property. So the purpose of the appraisal district was to make sure that the values that were placed were the same across. Because how do you have one house? Somebody might say it's worth $100,000. The other person might say it's worth $75,000. That's not the case. It's the same house. And so we use the market approach primarily to establish a market value for the property. So the appraisal district that you all are, I'm assuming you all are Tarrant County residents, that appraise your properties, we're composed of 6 departments. Of course, we have our admin department, and then we have our IS department, our information systems, so they handle all our computer stuff. Then you have the 3 appraisal departments, which are residential appraisal, commercial appraisal, and business personal property appraisal. Most people don't have a business personal property unless they actually have a business that has some form of a tangible asset. And then you also have the support services department, which is my department. So we're the front facing, we're the ones who interact mostly with the public, as well as we work on exemptions and the actual records of the property. So each of you, if you've ever purchased a property or looking to buy a property, it has a lot and a block or description and abstract, something of that nature. That's our job, to make sure that your name is on that particular lot for that. So you're assigned the right value, and so you're assigned your right exemption, so on, and the house is on the right property, right? So that's that. And then finally, we have a department called the appraisal review, or the ARB department. And we assist the actual Tarrant ARB. And that department is composed of an administrative function, but the Tarrant Appraisal Review Board, which we'll talk about a little bit later, they are separate from the Tarrant Appraisal District. It's just the appraisal district's job to make sure that they have what they need to operate.
Okay. So that's everything they do in all the departments, and that sounds like a whole lot.
It's a lot.
But just know she's in the support services division. That's what she is. Mm-hmm. So you said that they come up with the market value of the home. Mm-hmm. Okay, so how do you all come up with that market value? Because we get complaints. I will say this year, because I think of that bill passed, I hadn't had too many complaints so far. But in previous years, they're like, how did they come up with this amount for my home? Mm-hmm. I haven't done anything to it in 20 years. How does it keep appreciating in such a fast manner? Mm-hmm. So how do you guys come up with that value?
So market value is simply established by the market. All right. So there's typically three forms of methods of appraisal that are used. The least likely one for a residential property is going to be income. Right? Because income requires you to be renting it out. So that's more on the commercial side of appraisal. Then you have the cost approach, right? So how much would it cost for a builder these days to go out and actually rebuild your structure just as it is? So we look at that, and that's a cost approach. That's one of those values. And the most common value or method for valuation for residential is the market value or sales approach. And so what that is we look at similar homes in similar neighborhoods within the county, and we based on the sales that we get, because Texas is a non-disclosure state, right? So you're not obligated to tell what you paid for the home. So based on that, and maybe sales listings, or things of that nature, word of mouth, so on and so forth. We take those sales and we look at them and we adjust them accordingly. So let's say if you sold your property now, let's say in October, right? Well, the appraisal district, we evaluate as of what your property was like on January 1st. Okay, so if we're in an increasing market, right? So maybe if you built that same home and sold it in January of the year, because the market is increasing in October, you probably would have paid more for the home, right? So we'll look at all the sales, and if the sales that we do have suggest that the value should be this as of January 1, we'll make those adjustments and pull your value down to what it would have been as of January 1 in an appreciating market, right? And so that's how that would typically go.
Okay. So if it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house, you're kind of looking at all the ones in that particular subdivision.
Yeah, 3-bedroom, 2-bedroom house, So certain things garnish more, in a term of value, and that shows about how much you're willing to pay for it, right? Mm-hmm. So how much someone is willing to pay. I know a lot of people say all these Californians are coming to town, all of these Illinoisans are coming to town, all these people from the East where their home values are through the roof. Yeah. So they have more liquidity, they have more cash to spend, right? And they can afford to pay more. And so for those who are native to the state, we've seen this big balloon, increase because the market says that people are willing to pay, probably, $100,000 more than what you paid when you moved in. Okay. Mm-hmm. So the sales drive the market. With this last year or so, you notice that the interest rates, inflation, and everything has gone up. So that's kind of slowed the market. So you may not see as many homes available for sale in your area, because one is, if you do sell your home, where are you going to go? because you probably can't afford it right
But you might
now.
be able to use
But yeah,
your equity to buy something
you
else.
might
Don't let
use
that
it. Yeah,
discourage you.
don't be discouraged. I'm just saying this. That's what's happening now as people are slowing up. Is where am I going to go if I do sell my home and take that equity with me?
So what increases the value of a home is simply because you guys are not so in a regular appraisal, when you're in the process of buying a home, the appraiser actually physically goes to your house and assess it. You guys are not physically going out, you're just basing it on the market in general.
Typically,
Okay.
yes. So we are, as an appraisal district, we're actually required I think it's every 5 years, if I'm not mistaken. But I think for the most part, we do it at least every 3 years with residential properties, to go out and actually put eyes on the home, make sure that what we're carrying is actually what is there, because a lot of times people don't pull permits, and so they add on different things and
Yes.
so on and so forth.
Oh yeah.
So we do go on, but there are certain things that add value. Just think about, what do you desire in a home that would be say a brick home is going to be worth more than a frame home, a home on an actual slab more than on a pier and beam, right? Maybe 10-foot ceilings, is the thing going on right now, as opposed to a 7-foot ceiling. But then you look at the electricity cost, and that may change your mind. So it's all you determine the market as a buyer. They determine the market as a seller, what you think your home is worth, and you want to get all that you can out of it, and I understand that. So but that we determine the market, right, on what we're willing to pay. So it's basically a willing buyer and a willing seller, and they come to that agreement. When you come to that agreement, essentially what you're doing is establishing the market.
Okay. Do you all have any questions so far about what's been said?
I get it. I totally get it, because this has happened to my neighborhood as well, and a lot of neighborhoods, especially like even this neighborhood here to the east of us. So it started out, some of those homes over there now, they've been there 10 or 15 plus years, and then they've been doing phases, so some are only maybe 1 or 2 years old. And so as far as new construction goes, well, let's see, did I keep my home looking just as good as the home over here, right? Um, so one of the appraisal principles is whether or not it's homogeneous, whether or not you like properties the same. You want to look and you want to compare the same. So when you drive through this neighborhood, if you're not familiar, when you drive through the 15-year-old house, if it's maintained well and they haven't put some funky color on it outside of what the HOA requires, it looks just as good as the new construction. And after so long, you can't tell the difference. And the seller knows that as well, right? Because the seller says, I've kept my home up, my yard is landscaped. So yes, I might be able to sell my house for the same as the new construction. All right. So that's where, and we'll talk about this a little later as well. But when you are disputing your value, that's where you want to say, yes, but I have this particular HVAC unit, right? And I've had to replace this, and so, or I've had this, or my home was here during the ice, of 2021, and so my house flooded, and I had to get all of this redone, and so on. So it's not the same. It's not as good as the new construction. That's where it comes to, because all we're gonna have is most likely the sales. Right. And if it's new construction in the same area, because you also, as a homeowner, you don't want to move in with someone who may set up a trailer home, or RV next to your home, because they might potentially bring down your property value. Same logic, right? And that's how we're looking at it as well. Is it homogeneous? Does it look the same? And as far as the appraisal, if it's sold for, $200,000, and then yours sold for, your new construction is also $200,000. Well, the buyers don't really care about the difference in age. So there's not much adjustment to make. And I would, as a homeowner, go in and say, hey, my home is 15 years older. It's this, and it's that, and you can try, right? You can talk to the appraisers because they might have some leeway, because appraisal is subjective, right? There's no 100% you'll get it right to the dollar every time. We can't do that. And so there's some room. There's some room. But just make sure that you're going in and you're pointing out those things.
All right. Ma'am, you over there. Yes.
So the easiest way to say yes, there might have been. You would need to have gone maybe to your city, checked out the development plans that are going on, reach out, talk to your realtors who have their ears to the ground on what's going on and what's coming. There's a wealth of information if you're looking, and at the very least, go and ask the city, because you remember that we are public entities. So the information is publicly available. So you can go and ask, hey, what are the permits being pulled in my subdivision? And not just for residential, for commercial. Who has their eyes? Because I think there's a McDonald's or something that was built up the way across from the Lisas and the Taco Casa and all of that. Who knew that was coming? And then you just looked up one day and there it goes. So ask. You can always ask for construction permits or who's doing that. They can give you at least the general knowledge. They may not be able to give you the things that are to be held confidential, but yeah. But every year, or at least once every 3 years, you'll get a blue value notice in the mail. Okay, and she's passing out a copy of it.
You definitely need
right there. So I'll let her distribute those, and we'll talk some more about.
Oh, okay.
All right. So the most important thing that I can say to you all about this is when the white envelope with the blue piece of paper in the mail comes from Tarrant Appraisal District, open it. Okay? Open it. Do not disregard it. I know many people have their taxes escrowed, and so they don't worry or think about what actually generates their taxes because it's built into their payment every month. But this right here is how we get to those taxes. And so this is the first part of your responsibility as a property owner, to open it up and look in it. For those who have commercial properties, your sheet will be cream, and if you have business personal property, your sheet will be green. Okay, if for any reason you get one and it's pink, that's usually because it's for a prior year. Okay, and so we've had either you've done something or we've done something that's going to cause us to have to re-notify you. So anytime you see anything from the Tarrant Appraisal District, open it. But definitely when you receive this blue notice, open it. So of course, first thing on the top in big bold letters between the stars is your account number. Okay, this is what helps you move around to get access. When you ask,
use this one.
Okay. When you ask questions about your property, this is the account number, right? This is going to help you also search on our website, tad.org, and it's going to get you going. In the corner, there's a box, and I've hidden the pen, of course. But this right here will allow for you to set up your online account, okay? And in your online account, this is going to give you a little bit more access to the things you can do, like file a protest or try to resolve your value informally. And so you'll have a PIN number there. You'll need to set up your online account if you haven't already. If you go home tonight and you find your blue notice and you get your PIN and it doesn't work, those typically expire after so long. So you want to make sure you call us or send a request through our website and get you a new PIN sent to you so you can set up your online account. But it's very good. We encourage you all to set up your online account. It helps out tremendously, and it gives you a lot of information so you don't have to call or come in, take time out of your day to do that extra stuff. So anyways, usually you can look for your blue invitation around April 15th, give or take, there. And you want to pay attention to the deadline, the protest deadline. That is the day that if you see anything on this notice, everything, if it's not, your name's not spelled right, your street's not spelled right, it's not just value. You don't see an exemption on there that you think you should have. You do see an exemption, but that doesn't belong to you. Maybe because we have a lot of people who are receiving over 65 exemptions. And they're like, I'm not over 65. So then when we go back and we're doing our quality control and our reports and we pull those off, that causes an additional tax burden. So take your notice, review it thoroughly, make sure everything on there is what it should be, what you feel it should be. And then I'll just talk if it's not, if you have time, call us. We recommend everybody, just to protect your rights to talk to us after the deadline, is to turn it over and file your protest with the ARB. Okay, if you get it resolved with us before your hearing date, great. You can go on, you can withdraw your protest and move on down the road. But if you do not file this and your deadline passes, we can no longer talk about this anymore. Okay. Or at least we can, but what'll happen is you'll have different thresholds that you'll have to meet in order to be able to go before the ARB or to be able to discuss or for us to change it. So it's much easier to get this filed prior to the deadline. All right, and we can work it out after that. So I'm gonna go back to the front. So if y'all will see about the middle, you'll see that there is a market value and then there is an appraised value. Okay, so the 2023 market value for this particular property was $433,589. That was the market. Okay, that is not necessarily in this case what you're going to have your taxes calculated off of. Okay, your appraised value is your starting line, and you'll see that just to the right of the market value. In this case, this person has a homestead. And so one of the beauties of a general homestead is that once you have it after that first year of having it, that second year after having it, it will limit the market value, your appraised value, from going up more than 10%. All right. Your market value can shoot through the roof. Okay. It can go as wherever the market takes it. It can come down the way the market takes it, but the appraised value can never go up more than 10% over what it was that prior year. So if you'll look on the far left, you'll see 2022 market value, and then you see 2022 appraised value right there in that box, in that corner there. So in 2022, the market value was $357,146, and it jumped all the way to $433,589. Right? Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Right? And just so you know, there is no special treatment for the people who work at the appraisal district. So let's be clear. And oftentimes our stuff may be even a little bit higher, and then of course, we can take certain avenues, but we can't do the things like normal people. And I say normal people, the general public. We can't come in and say and talk to an appraiser informally. Right? If we want to have our value lowered, we have to go before the ARB, or we have to do it online. We cannot have any talks with our coworkers, okay, about that. So there are.
So you can't send an email, girl, check this out and fix my.
No. And I'm an appraiser, right? I'm an appraiser, and part of my license, my ethics requires, me to remain ethical. So that will, of course, be a conflict of interest and unethical for me to either change my own value or to go and talk to someone, my coworkers, about my value. So I typically leave mine alone. If I have an issue, I will go through the channel of just as soon as I get my blue, I just turn it over, fill it out, and send it in, and then in the meantime, I'll go online and do it informally there so I don't have to talk to anyone. Okay. But anyway, so 357 to 433 is what my market value went to, but the 302,500, if you multiply that by 1.1, which is basically a 10% increase, that my starting value was 332,750 for my taxes, my appraised value. Okay, and that is the beauty of a homestead, right? So I didn't have to go all the way up to 433,589 because I had my homestead in place. So 332,750. Now, if you notice, I live in a particular area where all I receive is the school exemption, homestead exemption. Most people, especially like if you live in the city of Fort Worth, Arlington, you get your state mandated exemption, which thanks to all of you who voted, is now $100,000 for the school. But prior to in this year, it was I believe only 40,000. But because I live in Crowley ISD, they have a local option, and that local option says we're going to give you a 10% of your appraised value in addition to your state mandated. Okay, so that's 70,250. It's basically the 40,000 plus the 32,000 some odd dollars, and that is my exemption. So if you'll look on the Crowley ISD line under taxing units, and these are all the entities who actually assess a tax towards your value. And so if you'll notice, all of them are 332,750, my appraised value, except for Crowley ISD, which is 259,475. Okay, so when my tax bill comes out, all of these entities are going to start, and they're going to take their tax rate that they vote on in August or September. They're going to take that tax rate and they're going to apply it to whatever value is in that 2023 taxable value column. And that times the tax rate divided by 100 is what I will pay to each entity for my taxes. And you'll get your tax statement usually in October. Okay. I think it was maybe a little delayed this year because there was so much going on, with the votes and everything like that. So a lot of people were delayed in getting their bill. But when you got your bill, you should have saw $100,000 maybe for your exemptions being taken off for the school, plus whatever local option you had for the general homestead, and then times the tax rate divided by 100, and there's the tax. Okay.
So what are some common exemptions? So I know you have the generic homestead exemption.
Correct.
Long as that's your property that you're actually living in, your primary residence. So you can't get a homestead exemption for an investment property because that is not where you're living.
Right.
But what are some other exemptions they should be looking at?
So if you're able to establish your general homestead exemption, there are exemptions for people who age 65 or older. And so that is called we call it your over 65 exemption. So that may be how you see it on your value notice, over 65 exemption. And so with the over 65 exemption, the state mandates that the school districts give another $10,000 for that. And then, but most taxing units, if not all, will give an additional amount for that. So like Tarrant County, they don't have the state mandate, but they do have a local option where they'll give another $50,000 if you're over 65. Okay. There's also, with the over 65 exemption, they have what they call a tax ceiling. Okay. And so the tax ceiling at the very least will allow for your school taxes to be limited. And when I say a ceiling, it means that whatever your tax amount that you paid in the year that you turned over 65 and claimed the exemption, along with the homestead exemption, that amount is the highest your taxes to the school will ever go. Okay. It can go lower. right? But if you establish it, you have to pay $1,000 every year. Up into $1,000, that's how much you would pay. Usually, your exemptions will bring it down even lower, but the ceiling of $1,000 is as high as your taxes to the school will be if you're over 65. Um, you can also have benefit of the over 65 exemption, or you can, if you have a disability, if you're what we consider a disabled person, um, that usually is predicated on you receiving benefits from the Social Security Administration. Okay, and they'll have a letter for you. You'll use that letter to apply for your benefits. Then there's for those who are disabled veterans. Now there's the general 100% disabled veteran. That is an actual homestead exemption, right? So if the Veterans Affairs, if they determine that you've received a disability and you qualify, you send the letter from them, showing your ranking, and so long as of course you haven't been dishonorably discharged, um, you'll be awarded the 100%, and that will take all of your value off. Now, in your first year, it won't be all, because that is one exemption that does not start on January 1. That starts on the date of qualification. So either the day you applied or the date that the VA determined that you were 100%. Okay. And then there's also, it's not a homestead exemption, but if there are disabled veterans who have something less than 100% in their disability rating, there is an exemption ranging from $5,000 to $12,000. It applies to all of the taxing units. And it can be applied not just on your home, but any property that you own. So let's say if you are a disabled veteran, and you receive let's say you have a 90% rating, a disability, that'll qualify you for $12,000. So you'll take that $12,000, and let's say you have a property over here that's not getting any exemptions, put it on over there. As long as you own it and you are the disabled vet, you can claim that.
So they can have that exemption. They can use let's say they 60%. So they use that VA exemption for an investment property, but they can still use a homestead exemption for the house they live in?
Yes, your homestead exemption only applies to your home. Right. Now, if your rating is 60%, you won't qualify for the 100% disabled veteran. Right. But your general homestead, you would qualify for. And so, yes, you can use that there and then take
put that over there.
Yeah, and it can also be used on your minerals for those who are still having to pay taxes on any type of minerals if they're still producing income. Yeah, but it can even be applied on your minerals.
Okay, do you all have any questions before we get to how do you protest this notice?
They're going to increase it a little bit, but for the most part, what I'm noticing is they're more of a hassle than anything, and a turnoff for a lot of people. So if they're a turnoff, or let's say you live in a community that has a pool, why would I maintain my pool if my HOA fees say I can go here for free? So it's to the buyer's preference, but if the pool was there when you purchased the home, that's going to be included in the sales price. Okay, and so there'll be adjustments. So say if you paid $150,000 for your home because it had a pool, and she paid $100,000 because she didn't have the pool, but it's the same thing, same floor plan, same subdivision, same everything, one could think that the value of the pool is $50,000. It's not, anymore, because it's most likely a preference. But it would make an adjustment would be made in the sales overall. Who has pools? Who does not have pools?
Okay. We will get to how you dispute this bill, because I get that question all the time, and I'm like, you got to call them people. I can help you with comps, but I am not a lawyer. I don't do this paperwork, but I can provide comps. That's about it.
Okay. So let's say this first, because I think one of the biggest issues is this is not your bill. Okay, when this blue piece of paper is not your bill, and if you've been around long enough, probably about 5 or 6 years ago, it used to have that estimated tax amount, right? But that kind of confused people, right? Because here it is, the Tarrant Appraisal District sent me something with taxes on it, but they don't collect or bill for my taxes. So you want to understand, first of all, that when you get your invitation in April, May, June, that it's not time yet for you to pay your bill or your taxes, okay? What you'll get from the Tarrant County Assessor's collector's office, or you'll if some of the entities, like some of us, if you live in Burleson or Azle, the other counties will send their tax statements as well. So when you get those tax statements on around April, if it goes straight to your mortgage company, you can always go to your county's tax assessor collector's website and check out how much your bill is. So what you're trying to do is, what you're trying to protest is your value, because your taxes are made up of two components: your tax amount, your taxable value, and your tax rate. Okay, so what you're trying to do is fix it on the value side. Okay, so when that happens and you look at this value and you say, I don't think that's right. Okay, the first thing you want to do is take a look and see what, go on the website or whatever, look and see what sales comps that, or even income or cost comps that the appraisal district use. That's why it's so important to set up your dashboard, because all of that information is going to be on your online account with us. So look and see what they use to value your property, okay? And then ask yourself, okay, are these truly comparable to mine? What does this have going for mine that maybe they did, that mine doesn't have, that maybe they didn't consider? Or maybe this one, this lower comp that they use is more like mine. So maybe let me show them this and tell them why this is more like mine than these are right here. So look at your comps.
So they give the physical address on the dashboard.
I believe so.
Okay.
And they actually give, I believe, age, condition of the property. They try to stay within your subdivision. Sometimes that's not always possible, but you're going to look. They're going to be pretty close in the area. You might want to drive over and let's check this out. Let's see what's going on here. Why did they think my house is worth the same as this right here? Oh, this is the property that's sold. Okay, let's see why. So I think in my subdivision, there are about 10 houses that are like mine. Okay, and so when it came through, I had 10 houses that sold or were close to selling, that sold within like the last 2 or 3 years, that were like mine. So I could look at them. I was like, okay. And if they have that, it's up to you at that point to decide. You might want to reach out to your realtor, Siobhan, the realtor, or other realtor, or I don't know if your mortgage company or anything will be able to supply those things for you or not. But you reach out to someone, get some sales comps that say, hey, is this legit? Or if you picked my home up and you took it to North Fort Worth, there's going to be some differences, right? As far as that might be a more desirable location for some people, so they're probably selling for a little bit more out there. But is it what comparable? It might be. It might be comparable to the neighborhood down here. And we usually, as an appraisal district, don't reach out that far because there's just so much activity here lately that we can stay pretty close. But as sales slow, our net's got to be a little bit wider, and so we might look at something with the same floor plan in a similar subdivision across town. Okay, so ask your realtor for that and see if you can get that. But anyways, get all of your information. What I want to say that gets a lot of people feeling disappointed is they come with an emotional plea, right? They come without facts. They come without, literally receipts. They come without, card information numbers for the appraisal review board to review and consider. At the end of the day, there's over 600,000 homes in Tarrant County, and over 388,000 of them have homestead exemptions. Okay, so our little department is we're we're trying, but anyways, when you think about that, and they're going before the ARB, and the ARB, we got to remember they're not only hearing residential, they're also hearing commercial, and they're also hearing business personal property. They're also hearing about minerals, and so all of that, we're close or approaching over 200,000 protests each year. Yeah.
All right.
Yes. Yes. And that's fine.
It's job security.
It is. It is. I'm not complaining, but also to understand that the appraisal district is not the ARB. And you all may look in your folder. Now, I'm gonna do a quick plug for the
Yeah, go ahead and do that.
We're looking for members. Okay.
That's a volunteer position.
No, it is not a volunteer position. You can make up to $185 a day.
Okay.
Right.
Well, let me go. Yeah, that one. Let me go.
Yeah, so we are looking for people.
Let me go and do that on the side.
If you have,
no, that'll be a good learning.
If you have some time now, it is. It can be a heavy commitment during the summer, right? Because most of our hearings are held after the protest deadline is when we get started. So somewhere between May 15th and July 15th, it's hot and heavy for us there at the district. It depends. I do know. Sometimes it just depends on the backlog and how many people we have scheduled. But if you have ARB chair and co-chair who are in charge of the scheduling, so it's kind of like a substitute teacher, if you will, right? For those who are familiar with that, they call in, they say, "Hey, I'm available." Yeah.
Right. If I do 4 days a week at the ARB, I could go to Jamaica.
Right.
I could take that trip.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but we do ask for you to be committed, to it, because that's all about getting for the ARB to get everyone to have their right to be heard before we have to certify. So the appraisal district, our responsibility is to have at least 90% of the protest heard from the time we send out the notice to July 25th. Okay, so we have a 2.5 month window. So the ARB may go 6 days a week. Okay, especially in June and right before Independence Day. Usually the Independence Day, the weekend before that is the last, because then people start to say, you know what, I'm gonna withdraw that. I'm not showing up. I'm going on vacation. I'll just go online and I'll ask for a settlement that way. So, but as far as
so what should they bring to the
so when you come, bring your actual solid documentation, right? Paperwork, facts, things, your receipts, what you pay, if you're willing to disclose how much you pay, because a lot of people will protest and they paid more than what we might have it on. It is, but that's not necessarily the market, right? So if you believe that you're still overvalued, even though you paid more because of whatever reason, bring that. Just bring hard evidence. Don't bring, your emotional pleas, who was sick, what you had to do that day, because at the end of the day, with over 200,000 protests, in order for us to maintain and be fair and equitable, to treat everyone the same, we cannot, take those things into consideration, because to do so, because we can't do it for everybody, right? And that's just not fair. And that's also when we go before the state comptroller, when our values are all over here and there, we can't say, hey, she had a baby this week, and so she, congratulations to her, and here's an extra $50,000 off your value. No, we can't do that. Okay, so keep those things in mind. Come with the hard evidence. We'll avoid the emotional pleas. When you get to the ARB, if you decide, if you, when you come into the office, if you haven't done so informally, you'll have an opportunity to speak with an appraiser one-on-one. Okay, a new law requires that you do get that opportunity at least once. Okay, um, and then if you can't work nothing out informally at the counter, you'll go to your hearing, and at your hearing, um, there will be a panel. Now the panel can be composed of one person or it can be composed of three ARB members. Okay, and so typically they're trying to get ARB members who are more skilled, if they're more skilled in the commercial aspect of it all or the business personal property aspect of it all. That's who they try to have on the panel hearing you out. So you can be pretty much confident that the person sitting across from you hearing your testimony is at least a homeowner, right? Or at least understands the market. They may be retired brokers or realtors or something of that nature, that they're no longer in practice, and so they have time and they come and they work at the ARB. So they're going to give a spiel, basic rundown of what's about to happen. And then they'll ask you as a protester, would you like to speak first or would you like for the appraisal district to speak first? You know, based on your evidence, maybe you didn't get a chance to hear what or see online what the district used to value your property. So you might say, I'll allow the district to speak first, okay? And so the district will give their testimony as to how they came up with the value that you have, and then you'll have your opportunity to give your testimony. The the chair may ask for you to, if you have any rebuttal. Now, what's really important is before you get to the rebuttal phase, when it's your turn to testify, everything that you have, you need to give it over to the ARB panel then, right? Because when you get to the rebuttal phase, you can't introduce new information. Okay, so anything that you are going to protest, if you're gonna put that sale out there, you can't go, aha, got you. You know, you can't. You can't do that after the fact, right?
You watch too much TV.
Yeah, you can't do that. See, I
Call my
knew it.
next
No,
witness.
you can't do that. So what has to happen? Any evidence that you have, put it all out on the table up front while you begin your testimony. And the same thing applies for the district. We can't go and say, aha, we knew you weren't living there. You know, we can't do that. So we have to, everything that we have to also present it to them before we in our opening testimony. Now, as property owners, one thing that's on your online dashboard are those comp sales. But if you have a protest hearing, if we have anything additional that we the district want to present at the ARB, that maybe we got a new sale that came through after we sent you all your notices and put that out there online, you'll be able to look at TAD ARB evidence. So you'll click on that button there and it'll put everything that we plan to present at your hearing. So there won't be any aha moments because the district is required to make that evidence available to you at least 15 days in advance of your hearing.
Okay. I think we had a question here. Ma'am, give us your question.
The more recent, the better. I wouldn't go past, in a market like what we're living in now, I probably wouldn't go more than 2 years. Okay, especially if when you're talking about sales, especially with so many sales being available these days, I probably wouldn't go more than 2 years. However, if the market tends to slow, usually about 36 months will be about as far back as someone would consider if it slows. But no, now I would try to stick to the 12, 18-month range. Forward or backwards, right?
Go ahead, ma'am.
So In most cases, especially with the newer homes, less than 10 years, you probably don't need you probably haven't needed any renovations. So you're probably primarily is going to be the sales. Okay, but let's say you did have to add on uh, a new wing or reconfigure your bathroom or something of that nature, or you had to gut out, and because you had a flood in the house, you had to cut out the wall. So as of January 1, and that's another thing to remember, this is as of January 1, right, of the year. That's where this is what that value is based on. So you want to bring things like, hey, in October, before this January 1, I had to call a plumber out, and they had to pull up all of my toilets and re-snake the pipeline or whatever it is that they had to do. Or I have foundation issues, right? And and show, and there will be some considerations for that as well. um, on and you might have some leeway there. So pictures and actual estimates, or actual paid receipts, invoices that you've actually, those are the best things to bring, in addition to if you can get your hands on sales comps.
Any other questions? No? So y'all know what y'all doing come May 15th.
Yes.
So everybody know.
We're going to do it before May 15th.
That's
You're
right.
Before
May 15th.
Your
I'm sorry. Before the deadline.
Now, May 15th is the typical deadline,
yeah.
right? We as an appraisal district, we are supposed to have it out by April 1st, or as soon as they're practical for homes. Okay, it's not practical for us to value over 400,000 homesteads from January 1 to the time it takes for us to print, which is usually about the first week in March. We start printing in mid-March, and it takes us over 2 weeks to print, get everything stuff sent off to the post office, and it's a lot for that. So April 15th is usually our standard date for trying to get you notified. So that's what's practicable.
And I want you to know that everything is free. So I know you may get something in the mail or a phone call saying, let me help you do this for the low price of 10% of whatever they reduce your value. I can help you with this. This is a service that is free. Mm-hmm. So when you apply for homestead exemptions, you can go to the Tarrant Appraisal District's website and download it and do it, or however you need to, whatever's best for you.
Come into the office.
Go into the office, because y'all are for Hanley Etterville, right?
Correct. Yeah, 2500 Hanley Etterville.
There you go. So you can actually go there and get the assistance you need. You do not have to pay for any of these services. I know there are people that are trying to charge and do not. Just don't get. I'm not gonna say it's a scam. They actually may be doing a service. But if you took the time out, you can get it done free.
Mm-hmm. And that's the same thing with your protests, right? You are capable, but if you're not comfortable, maybe, you're not comfortable coming before the panel. Maybe you don't have the access that maybe what we call agents may be able to do. Then if you do secure one, that is an option. Okay. And so when you secure an agent, you got to be careful of what you're actually asking them or what you're telling them, because you may no longer get that blue invitation. It may go to your agent. If let's say you check, let my agent receive all of my correspondence. Oh, okay. So it goes to the agent.
Yeah.
Yes.
There you go.
It goes to the agent and not to you, right? So of course you can always pull up stuff on the website or whatever, but when you give a fiduciary authority to these representatives, that's some of the things that you relinquish, right, in receiving those things. So it's your right to do that. I can't promote or discourage you from doing whatever it is that you feel is best for you, but just understand when you're checking that box on what they get communications or whether or not they get to go before and represent you, right? If you secure them, and because representing you comes with a fee. Mm-hmm. Okay, and some can charge up to 30% of your savings.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or more.
Yep.
Yeah. So just understand what you're getting into. But as far as filing any paperwork, filing anything, all of that is free, and you all are fully capable of doing that. And if you're not, just give us a call. That's what our customer service is for. We'll be glad to help you and walk you through it. Another thing I want to say is, especially the new homeowners and maybe even existing homeowners who already have their homestead, you might get a form that says designation of a homestead, right? It does not say your residence homestead application. It doesn't have the TAD logo on it. That has to do with the property code, not the property tax code. So it usually will charge you somewhere between $10 and $100. The difference between that form is there's some different legal remedies that happen, but it's not really necessary, as opposed to filing and claiming a homestead exemption. Okay, so if you get a form that says designation of your homestead, just know if it doesn't have that TAD logo, it didn't come from the appraisal district. If it doesn't have any appraisal district's logo or an appraisal district phone number, that didn't come from the appraisal district. That has to do with a different set of rules for designating your property as a homestead. So when you claim your homestead exemption, essentially that's what you're doing anyway. The what you can claim on for your homestead exemption, you can claim up to 20 acres. But with a designation of homestead property, it's not for an exemption, but it protects people when they buy homes of large acreage, or when you have Uncle Jed and Uncle Ted and Sister Edna. They all decide to build on this same one large lot of land. And so when things get ugly, when it's time for a property estate, if should Uncle Jed pass away, or something like that, but that's a different type of thing, and it's a different type of protection for legality. So we don't handle that at the appraisal district, but that comes as a cost. So if it's coming at a cost to you, then it's probably not from TAD, okay? Because TAD, we don't assess, we don't collect. We have a small cash register, but that's just for making like copies, and basic things that, there's very few things that cost at the appraisal district, very few. And so if you get something that's saying we're trying to charge you, or somebody's trying to charge you what you can do for free on our website or in our office, just say, I can handle that, or give us a call.
My producers are saying run out of time. So give a hand for Precious. I don't know about you, but I feel empowered to try this year. I've never tried. I just accept my fate and pay. But I think I might try this time. So I hope you all feel empowered as well. All right. So last but not least, again, I'm a real estate agent, and the way that I am able to put on events like this is through people like you all giving me names and phone numbers of your friends and family who said, hey, I think I might want to buy a house. Like, hey, I'm thinking about downsizing, right? Don't worry about who the referral is. So I get a lot of people say, I was going to refer my cousin, but I know my cousin may not be serious. Let me determine the seriousness and do the assessment. It's another slide that says Siobhan. Let me determine the seriousness of the person, do my assessment, build a relationship. So if you scan that QR code right there, you can refer a friend to Siobhan the Realtor. It is just a doc. You put your information in, refer the person, and let me work my magic from there. Even if that person isn't ready, I can get them ready. So I've worked with people for a year and a half before they buy, but we getting them where they need to be. So buy, sell, or invest. You can put that person's information in, and I'll reach out to them and start the process of literally just introducing myself and inviting them to events like this and getting to know me as a person. Because ultimately, we all do business with people we know, like, and trust. I've never done business with somebody I don't like, or I won't do it again. If I don't like you the first time, I'm not coming back. So I build those relationships, and I do events and all kind of stuff along with helping you find your new way home. So if you have anybody, scan there. My business card is on the table. Feel free to call me if you need any real estate advice or have any questions. We could set up a time for, I like to call them discovery calls, to figure out what your needs are, and then we work towards that goal. So I used to be a social worker, so I love goal setting. I love SMART goals. I love all of that stuff that keeps you invested in what you have. So thank you all for coming.